Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Pukraj. I work as the head of community at HundrED. HundrED is a Finnish nonprofit that basically wants to improve education through impactful innovations. So in the last month, across the world, the pandemic has, led to many different sort of challenges. At HundrED, we've been identifying innovative solutions that are helping parents, that are helping teachers, that are helping students flourish in this time and continue learning. And in this research that we've been doing in the last 1 month, 1.5 months, we have found amazing student leadership examples as well from around the world, where young people have taken the lead in self-directing learning, in taking ownership to helping out their community, as well as, just keeping learning going, keeping excitement going, be it on TikTok or on some other platform. We have been seeing young people take leadership in this time. And this is why essentially we wanted to do this workshop. We wanted this to be a space to hear from young people. We've been hearing a lot from adults around the world on what young people need, but no one's asking young people themselves, right? So we wanted to bring in this group. If you look around in the chat, you will see lots of young faces. We tried to keep the adults out. The adults who are here are from the HundrED team, so you can say whatever you want. And we'd love to hear how things are going with you guys and, just learn from your expertise in this time. If you look at the workshop kind of flow, what we'll do now is just a round of introductions. You are already doing that on the chat. Just because there's so many, we can't do it verbally. But please keep introducing yourselves on the chat. I'm seeing people from around the world who are here, from Indonesia, US, India. So I'm very excited. Welcome again. Then we will have Peyton Klein, who is the founder and executive director of Global Minds. She is going to share a bit about what she has been going through and her community and her friends. Then we'll go into small group discussions. So all of us will break into smaller groups and we will talk about the challenges and the opportunities that COVID has brought amongst us. And then we'll do something called harvesting, which is basically all the information that we gather in the first 40 minutes of this conversation. We will try to put it together in a beautiful, meaningful manner, and then we'll close out. So it should be a 1 long hour workshop. If at any point you don't understand what's happening, write it in the chat box. If you don't understand my accent, that can also happen, just say it. But feel free to, speak up and ask for help or ask for questions. So throughout the workshop, we'll be exploring 3 to 4 different questions. And if you have a notebook, you can write these down. If you have your phone, you can take a picture, whatever helps. If not, we will put it in the chat box as well. So no need to stress. But the questions that we are trying to explore today in this workshop are these. So first of all, what are we tolerating and what are we appreciating? And this is important because, of course, the COVID climate has brought a lot of challenges. So there's a lot of things we need to tolerate. It might be just your brother and sister at home playing with your toys, or it could be the challenges with not being able to connect with friends or lack of internet. But there's also a lot that we can appreciate. A lot have changed in the past few weeks, past few months in how we approach learning, about how we approach life. So that's a question that we'll also be exploring. The next question is, what are we learning from this new normal? So because this has become a way of life, and not just in India, not just in Australia, people around the world are trying to understand and thrive in this new normal situation, which means learning from home, being slightly isolated, but still having connections with friends, and just what are we doing? What are we learning from this? And the last question is, how will this current situation transform the way we learn as young people? And I mean by you as young people. So it's also interesting because this this time, how we look at it is, um, the concept of like the phoenix bird, that as it goes old it burns and then a new bird comes out of it. This is the point that we are in the education system. We have done a certain way, we've approached education in one way, and this is the time where transformation happens. And what comes out of it, I don't know. Maybe you have an idea, or maybe you can guess, and then that's what we want to explore in this call as well. So having said that, before we even go into the workshop and like into the breakout rooms, I would like to invite Peyton, who is going to be our student co-facilitator on this call, to share her answers for those 3 to 4 questions that I just asked. I will introduce Peyton very quickly. So Peyton is a high school senior, fearless conversationalist, community builder, and the founder of Global Minds Initiative. She is from United States. She created Global Minds Initiative in her freshman year. Global Minds is a student-led movement working to combat cultural intolerance and discrimination in schools internationally. Through after-school programming, bridging English language learners and native English-speaking students, Global Minds builds intercultural understanding and empathy through courageous conversations. Since 2016, Global Minds has expanded into 25 schools and 2 countries, impacting over 2,600 students. Peyton is a TEDx speaker, HundrED Fellow, Bezos Scholar, 2019 Global Teen Leader, and Princeton's Prize in Race Relation winner. Her work has been featured in the Today's Show, Fox News, in Teen Vogue, and the New York Times. In addition to her nonprofit work, Peyton is arguably the weakest member of the Allardyce Field hockey team, Pittsburgh native, and a hugger. So with that, let's give her a virtual hug and welcome Peyton to share her answers to these 3 to 4 questions. Peyton, I'll stop sharing my screen so everyone can see you well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm calling in from Pittsburgh, PA, where it is 8 a.m. and bright and early, and this is the earliest I have been up in a while. So I'm really glad to be here and chatting with you all. And I think that this is just a really important time and a really important conversation that we're here to have. And I'm honored to share a little bit about my work. So what I would say for the first question is, sorry, one second. What I would say for the first question is, what am I tolerating? And I think right now that would be living in a house with six people and my family, as well as the current state of online school, right? For me, at least, we're using Microsoft Teams and it's very chaotic. On the Global Minds end, we're trying to engage our chapter members and student leaders in new ways, which has been really interesting. But also, I think that's what I'm appreciating is truly my team's ability to be flexible and open-minded and to adapt to these times, which I think is really important. The second question around what am I learning from this new normal, I think I'm learning to practice more self-empathy, and every day is new. Every feeling is new. I think this is a really challenging time. I'm a senior in high school. And there's this quote, when we plan, God laughs. And I think that that's what's happening right now is trying to plan for the future is really challenging. And it's just the reality that we're living in. So I think that comes with a lot of emotions. So first of all, mourning senior year and all of the amazing things that come with that. And then the second part of that is just kind of coping and dealing with the emotional baggage of COVID-19 as a young person. And then the third thing I think is how will we transform the way we learn as young people? I think one, we need to be prepared for mobile learning. My school district certainly wasn't. We only started mobile learning about 2 weeks ago, which is really challenging. The Global Minds team, we really rely on in-person interaction, which I don't think Zoom calls can replace, but I'm happy that we're doing them. So also leaning more into that. And then also transforming the way we learn in the sense of dedicating more time to ourselves and more learning inward, and not waiting for a pandemic to hit to do some self exploration, but starting that more immediately. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat box, and I'm happy to answer them. And I'll wait for a second in case anyone has any questions. But I think just the main takeaway is I'm at least trying to use this time intentionally. I think there's a lot of pressure right now for young people to like write a book or run a marathon or use this time super productively, but I'm trying to be intentional and use this time more personally as well as academically. So I hope I can encourage you guys to do the same and to be kind to yourselves in this time. But thanks again, everyone. And thanks again, Pukraj, for the wonderful introduction. And I'm excited to learn from you throughout this workshop.
Thank you, Peyton. Can you also maybe talk about what you've seen in your Global Minds community? And for everyone else, even if you agree with Peyton or something that she said, feel free to drop in, the chat. It doesn't only have to be questions. But yeah, Peyton, any like stories to share from your community?
Yeah, so Global Minds, we operate in school after school programs and a youth fellowship where Pittsburgh students work in our offices, and not offices anymore, they work from home in real operational roles. So we've really been adapting by doing live streams with local activists on our Instagrams, writing on our blog, and also putting together a global cookbook. So I'll text in the chat box for everyone, but our social media is Global Minds on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and we've been doing a lot of virtual programming, which has been really cool. And I hope you guys will find our global cookbook and start adding there, because I know our students have been really, really excited about that. And when trying to think about specific stories, I think what comes to mind is how inaccessible technology is to a lot of our students who are immigrant refugee youth. So we've been really trying to be creative and to cope with that. So we've been working with the school district, and now every student has a laptop, etc. But that's been really interesting.
Absolutely. Thank you, Peyton. I would actually even open it up to maybe 2 to 3 young people here to just share your thoughts on those 4 questions. And then we will go into the big group where everyone gets a chance to share. But if you're interested, does everyone know how to raise their hands in the Zoom? If you do know, you can maybe nod. So if you go to the participants button at the bottom, there is next to your name, you can raise your hand. I already see Raghavendra wants to say. So Raghav, I've unmuted you. Would you like to share what has been happening where you are and what you're doing to thrive in this time?
Yeah, very excited for this call. I am Raghavendra from India. I'm 16 years old and I'm from Mumbai. So here I reside in a community where like we have 8 to 9 lakh population in just 1 kilometer square area. So I come from a community which is slum, and here the idea of social distancing is not even possible. So what we are doing is that here that the right now we can see in these times is what is happening is the online classes are going on for privileged students who are able to get to this. So we have started many digital platforms for them to do so. And one problem that here was happening was the food that used to become for distribution. A lot of them are daily wagers, so they struggle with. They are all having into panic. So what we are doing is we're going door to door with proper care, and we're telling them, just spreading the message of not to panic in these times. It is very hard for them to even believe that they are safe. And then also, like the food distributed here, they are giving food only to the relatives ones. So what we did was we started a movement. We started giving gratitude letters to them, and then indirectly they started realizing that we were doing something wrong. And the next day they came up with us, and they started sharing about, yeah, thank you so much for making us realize this, and we got the list to prepare, and then right now we are ensuring the food is going to the needy people. uh, to answer the questions, I think what am I appreciating, I think it's just that these times are overthrowing the realities of the societies that were hidden from the ground. Like at one
Mm.
end you have Mumbai is a city, at one end you have high and tall skyscrapers, and other hand those uh, 10 30 by into 10 feet houses were never into highlights. I think that's where it is now going to be shown the inequalities of the society to a very very much higher extent. And what I'm appreciating, I think just the opportunity for me to be here in the community, at the same time having a voice. What it really means to having a voice in this community is a lot of people don't even understand that. So I
Mm.
think I really value that for myself. And what am I tolerating, I think uh, others are tolerating much more that I am doing right now, but something is that I'm just tolerating this inequality. Uh, and Yeah, I think that's enough.
No, thank you so much. And it's definitely, I mean, being from India, I completely agree with you. There is this is an opportunity for us to not just transform, our education spaces, but just society in general. So thank you for what you're doing. I really appreciate even the gratitude letter idea, that if someone has a bias against you, how do you, still give them a gratitude letter and turn them around. So thank you, Raghavendra. Would love to hear from someone else as well. So we kind of got like a North American, we got an Asian, India, Central Asia, anyone from Australia. I know there's some people here who would maybe want to share what's happening in that part of the world.
Hello,
Andre?
hello everyone.
Yes.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
I am from Ukraine. I am 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And in our country, coronavirus spreads as well as in other countries. We have already 10,000 victims of it, and it's horrible. As far as I see, the situation of spreading coronavirus is uh, has much. mm, many people suffers from it every day. Every day we have uh, half half thousand of people who has positive
Mm.
test. Uh, but all problems have some pros and cons. Um, as as an adventure of this virus, I could tell that we have more time to study, to learn something new, to communicate like this online meet, and some else. We could describe something new. We could surf the net, uh, study, prepare for our exams. I'm in the 10th form,
Mm.
and in a year I am going to pass my exam. It called it is called ZNO, зовнішнє незалежне оцінювання. It's a name of our exam in our country.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of time to prepare for it.
Um,
Uh,
That's really cool. Andre, to that question, the question of like, how will this current situation transform the way we learn as young people? Do you think when, schools reopen and when you have to go back to um, regular schooling, do you think things will change? This opportunity that you now have to say serve, search the internet or connect with people from around the world over a Zoom call, do you think that should become a part of regular schooling? What's your opinion on that?
I think that when the situation will be better than now,
Hmm.
we return uh, previous to our previous style of
Hmm.
studying, and all will be the same, uh, the same,
Same way.
same way. Yes,
Mm.
like it was earlier.
Okay, that's a really powerful thing to share. Thank you, Andre. And I think that's something that we are wondering at HundrED as well, is that, is this really going to transform education, or will we do all these innovative, creative things in the 2-3 months period, and then when we go back, everything goes back to how it was? And then what is the role young people like all of you can play in challenging that and asking for more? Okay, this has been incredible. Does anyone else want to share? Latin America, Australia? If someone feels comfortable sharing in the big group. Tim, go for it. Let me unmute you. Yes.
So hi, I'm Tim. I'm grade 12 in Brisbane, Australia. I think kind of this global pandemic has brought out a lot of questions about the role of Australia as a regional power in kind of the Oceania region, especially in terms of supporting kind of regional countries like Papua New Guinea and Nauru and Indonesia, where they don't have as well established healthcare systems. And I think that as Australia, we're doing really well in tolerating kind of that balance of domestic responsibilities and regional responsibilities, because Australia has done a lot to support other regional countries. I think in terms of a core entities that Australia and Australian society is appreciating is especially the Australian Red Cross. They've been a really core player in the response to COVID in Australia. So they're making 27,000 calls every single day to every single Australian that's currently has an active case of COVID. So welfare calls, making sure that they've got access to essential services and all those sort of things. So Australia is kind of realizing how much of a godsend this organization is. So yeah.
Thank you. And do you also see student leadership in the rise in Australia?
Yeah, so a lot of students, at least at our school, are actually getting involved with the Red Cross. So obviously we've just come off quite a horrific bushfire season. So a lot of the Red Cross's resources are spent on recovery for that. But you are seeing these ongoing campaigns that are raising money and raising volunteer power for the Red Cross to actually respond. And we're seeing a lot of kind of young people come out and just embrace that how essential the Red Cross is, and making sure that stuff where they're like transporting volunteers to call centers and stuff like that, you know, making sure that volunteers that are, you know, making these thousands of calls are getting food and all these things delivered. So it's a lot of youth leadership in supporting the operationalization of Australia's non-governmental response.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And with that, I wanted to, you know, share 3 articles that I recently found out through recommendations, you know, about how young people around the world are taking leadership, spending, you know, time solving the COVID crisis through hackathons, going on the ground, taking community leadership roles. And I can see that the first article, which is the 10-year-old hacking coronavirus instead of playing Fortnite, that article is about Rehan. And Rehan, I see you're on this call. Would you like to share a little bit about, you know, what you have been up to? Obviously, you're not playing Fortnite. Let me unmute you. Would you like to share how you've been spending your COVID time?
Yeah, just recently I have made an app to stop the, you know, the economical loss due to COVID-19. I'm sharing it in chat right now.
Thank you.
So my answers, what I wanted to do is answer the questions. So for question 1, what are we tolerating? So what I'm tolerating is the horror of the COVID-19 numbers increasing every second. and not stepping out of the house for 2 months now. I don't even remember how the corridor outside my house looks.
Mm-hmm.
We I'm appreciating that we have so much time and we can do so much. I already made an app to stop the loss of economy. I already sent it in chat. Question 3, what are we learning from this new normal? I'm learning about how less the world knows about COVID-19, not just COVID-19, about any coronavirus,
Mm-hmm.
and how much we have more to discover, and how everyone can help out. Question 4, how will this current situation transform the ways we learn as young people? As of now, everybody's learning online. It's the most useful way to communicate. I'm also not forced to learn my new. I'm forced to not meet my new classmates in 6th grade who I really wanted to meet and hang out with, I guess. So it's
Perfect.
actually impacting us really hard. But if everyone works together, from I don't know, from maybe drivers to maids or whatever, everyone can make a difference. As
Mm-hmm.
of now, if everyone stays home, then they'll basically break the chain. So that's the way that everyone can help. But some people can do it further. Like, and what I'm thinking is that everybody should do it further. But some people just choose to, I don't know, just stay back and follow what everybody's forced to do. But
Mm-hmm.
we have to stop that feeling that everybody thinks they're no one and they just can't do anything. Everybody has to feel like there's someone in the world and they can help out. So
Absolutely.
so
No,
I've
thank you, Rehan, for like bringing that, encouragement into the conversation as well to find a way to do something and take leadership, take initiative, and not wait for things to get fixed
yeah.
on their own. Amazing. And we'll definitely check out your app. You can already see on the chat there are people who agree with your approach. So thank you again for joining this call. Actually, now maybe the best time to break into groups. Peyton, do you have any thoughts or just things people should think about, given that you also work in the youth leadership space? I will share my screen until then. Peyton? Is Peyton still?
I'm muted.
Oh, sorry.
Just as far as best practices, making space for everyone when we go into the breakout rooms, and at Global Minds we use this rule. It's like 3 and then me. So I don't know how big the breakout rooms will end up being, but I speak and then I let 3 other people speak and then I can speak again. I think it's just a really great thing. I think just understanding that all of our experiences are going to be really, really different at this time. And I talk to my friends, and some of them will tell me about how they're using this time, and it's okay if you're using this time differently. Again, I think I really want to emphasize, like, we don't have to be productive during this time. We don't have to be. It's incredible that we're making an app, but not everyone has to make an app. Like, it's good enough just to wake up every day and to just be. So I just wanted to emphasize that, and I think there's a lot of power in that. So I'm excited to hear from everyone.
Thank you, Peyton. And yes, I have to reiterate that as well. Everyone, given what our contexts are, what our resources are, we have different, capacities, different interests, and at the same time, different resources. So being kind is going to be essential. So while we go into this breakout room, we will be discussing the 3 questions. You will have to facilitate this discussion on your own, so there won't be any adults in there. So just please encourage other people to speak intentionally, include everyone, be kind, listen well, but also no judgments. Everyone is here to share, and all answers are correct answers. We don't know what the future would look like, but this is a space for us to kind of brainstorm and think about what new type of learning, what new type of learners look like. If you haven't written these questions down, they're all of them one more time. So what are we tolerating? What are we appreciating? What are we learning from this new normal? And how will this current situation transform the way we learn as young people. So while you are maybe looking at it and writing it down, I'm going to make the breakout rooms. There will be 4 to 5 people in each room. Okay, I have to stop sharing to be able to do that. So hopefully everyone has the questions. I know the questions are also in the chat. But yeah, so we will have 10 rooms, 4 to 5 people in each room. You don't have to write what other people are saying. When we come back, we will get an opportunity to harvest and make notes of what everyone said. So take the 10-15 minutes just to chat, hear from other people, tell where you're from, what the current reality is and what you're doing in this time. So I can see most of you are on the laptop, so it should be easier. You will now get a button which says join a breakout room. So just click on it and it'll take you to the room.
Hi everyone, my name is Abbas and I am from India. I am from India, Delhi, and I'm a poet. I'm from this organization called Slam Out Loud. Work with them as a poet, and we try to like build creative confidence in young adults to so that they are exposed to art at a very young age. And I'm really glad to be a part of it, and really grateful that that I'm to interact with all of you, and really looking forward to listening to your opinions and understanding each other well. And as all of us know that this is a really disturbing time, and it can be really overwhelming to be at home for a really long time, and and we can really feel that we don't have anything in control. But I think what we have in control is sort of build or create some sort of human connection and connect with each other and learn about each other and try to make it a better and safe space for everyone. So I'm glad that all of you are a part of it. I think we should start the discussion by just firstly introducing ourselves and just answering the first question: what are we tolerating? Anyone can start, or I can even share for the first time. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, like talking about tolerance, I remember like in the larger group when Raghavendra shared about social inequity. I think that is obviously something which has been really disturbing me.
I have a feeling that this kind of behavior won't change even after everybody stops quarantining, because I feel like this kind of period has really pushed us and brought us together. And I'm not saying this like, I mean, people are privileged. Some people are privileged to like help others and make and form NGOs, but I feel like this current situation will transform the way young people interact and the way they help out others. So yeah.
That's so true. Thank you for sharing, Alexa. So interesting, all 3 of your experiences. I mean, I have a question. How has online learning been? Is it fun? Is it engaging? Do you think it's being done in a nice way?
Oh, well, for me, it's different with like all my classes. So, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm from Australia and from Melbourne, Australia, and in year 12. So like English class, it's about the same. It's pretty good. I got a good teacher. But then like classes like food tech, it takes away that whole practical side of it. So it's that major part of the subject you just can't do. 50-50.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 13 more seconds, then everyone should come back. I guess there's some good discussion still going on in some rooms. Okay. Okay, it's good to see that you guys are still here. Can I get like a thumbs up? How was it? Was it good? Was it okay? There was some technical difficulty. Okay, I'm mostly seeing thumbs up. I know I try to bounce around and go see or just hear what people were discussing. It sounded like it was an interesting discussion, but there were definitely some technical difficulties here and there. So what we do want to give you now the chance to do is take a minute, think about what all you've heard. You've heard from different people in the large group, you've heard from people in the small discussions. And what we would love for you to do now is to formulate your own opinion, what you would like to share. And I'm going to drop a Padlet link on the chat box. So what I would love for everyone to do is open that link. If you are on the phone and if it's harder, try it. If it doesn't work, just think about what your answers will be. I will send this link in the follow-up email so you can fill it out then. So don't worry. But if everyone can open this link, maybe I can share my screen and show what this would look like. So the questions that you guys just discussed, what are we tolerating? What are we appreciating? What are we learning from this new normal? And how will this transform the way we learn as young people? These are the questions we want you to now answer from a personal level. The last question, which is what is your one piece of advice for teachers? Don't answer that one yet, but you can, I already see one comment, being socially deprived. I feel the same way. But yeah, leave the last question. We're going to spend maybe not 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes answering these questions. And yeah, all of them are anonymous, so just write whatever you feel like writing. Don't be mean or disrespectful just because there's some young people in this call, but just we would love to hear from you. Answers to the first 4 questions. And I'll let this actually be while you guys are writing. So let me know if you're having any challenges. I see a lot of people have already written. This is amazing. You have maybe 2 more minutes to write down your answers. If you feel like you need more time, you can always write it later as well. So no need to feel that pressure. I see people are already answering the last question, but try to hold off that one. Okay. So I'm reading a lot of really, authentic responses. So I first of all want to say thank you to everyone for sharing these. Um, you can always fill this out even later. I will send the Padlet link again in the follow-up emails, so you can keep writing even there. But few, things that I want to highlight is that a lot of us are feeling disconnected and uncertain in how the current situation is and where it is taking us. But we are also appreciating, family time, people coming together online as well as, offline, supporting our local communities, supporting elderly people. So it's interesting that we are missing some sort of social connections, but we're also appreciating the social connections we have at our home with our families and maybe even pets. What we're learning is definitely that we are adaptable, we are more independent than we ever thought, how important human connections are, how we can actually survive, and just that we have the capability to be self-organized and self-dependent. And the last question is, how do we imagine this will transform the way people learn? Online school might become the new norm. More and more students may not take the 4-year college path. It's showing everyone that we aren't just moody teenagers, but we actually have a voice and we can speak with that voice. And I think that's incredibly important, and something at HundrED we definitely want to keep doing. I want everyone's attention now as we close. We have only 3 more minutes to the last question. And I know 4 people were already super enthusiastic and they have written the answer. But to close out, I want to talk about the hope for future. And then in a positive direction, what is your one piece of advice for teachers as everyone goes back to school post-pandemic? So what I want you to do is start writing your answer, whatever it is, but don't press enter. So I would ask everyone to write the answer, but don't press enter. If you can see what I just did on while I'm sharing screen. So obviously that's not what I want to write, but you can type, don't press enter. So what is your one piece of advice you have for teachers as everyone joins school back post-pandemic? And this is something HundrED works a lot with educators, with innovators, and we want to share this with them. So take a second, think about what you would like to say to teachers, not just your teachers, but teachers around the world, as everyone goes back post-pandemic. So I'll give you 30 seconds to think, write, don't press enter. Okay, if you guys have already written your answer, can you show me a thumbs up just so I can get a gaze? Okay, I see 3, 4. There's some people still writing. Maybe 10 more seconds. Okay, so now when I say 3, 2, 1, enter, then you enter. So 3, 2, 1, enter. Oh, I see some people are writing on the chat, but on the Padlet. So I see 5 answers. If you were writing on the chat, sorry, maybe I said the instructions wrong, but would love to capture your advice on the Padlet, but I know it's exactly the end of the call time. I will unmute everyone and would like to thank everyone for joining us. Would love to kind of stay in touch. Follow us on HundrED. We keep doing youth workshops here and there. We have a Youth Ambassador Fellowship, which will open in November. So if that's something that's of interest to you, please join the community. But again, I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you for taking this time out. We'll close out in a fun way. So whichever language you speak at home, which is your mother tongue, you say goodbye in that language. And
how do you say bye in Tagalog?
Everyone's ready to say goodbye? So, thank you, everyone.
Bye.
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 Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Sampai ketemu lagi. Bye bye.
Bye.
До свидания.
Dabo.